Hi, hello everyone, oi pra todo mundo que tá aqui, tudo bom? Eu inclusive já queria deixar claro que talvez hoje seja uma live ainda mais curtinha, normal. Tô levemente abatida, não tô mal ao ponto que eu tive que cancelar a live, mas eu diria que eu tô mais ligada no, sei lá, estou mais devagar hoje. Oh my god, Pitaya, hi, Santana, how are you? Mas vamos ver, às vezes eu vou ficando melhor com o decorrer da live e mais animada também. Mas estourando a live vai ter 2 horas, talvez 2 horas e meia, dependendo do quanto eu realmente ficar agitada e animada. Mas acho pouco provável. Então, já vou. Ai, obrigada. Obrigada, Santana. Não é nada grave, é mais tipo. Tá mais abatida mesmo. Mas não é nada preocupante. Não precisam se preocupar caso alguém esteja. Se tivesse mal mesmo, eu teria cancelado. Mas enfim, eu já vou ligar aqui o jogo. Peraí. O áudio tá bom? Bom saber antes de eu continuar, né? Espero conseguir terminar o primeiro caso já hoje, né? Tá sim? Beleza, então. Então vamos continuar. Aqui. Ah, é, a gente tava pressionando o pessoal. You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady in there. As if have been at pains to point out time and again. I feel I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. Only there'd been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Eu tô achando que eles só estão mentindo. Tutorial de jogo japonês é foda, né? É longo, mas não é um caso ruim, né? Tipo, pelo menos esse eu tô achando mais interessante, que é no Ace Attorney, no primeiro Ace Attorney. Apesar que do primeiro Ace Attorney, tipo, eu acho ele meio icônico com o plot twist de algumas coisinhas. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. A quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know. Of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at the time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was? This was found in the victim's jacket pocket. What's that, Counsel? Olá, Old. O primeiro era do papagaio? Não, era o que o melhor amigo do Phoenix foi considerado culpado, que é uma ex-namorada dele. Faleceu. It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. Hot, a clinic? Yes, there would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. Peraí. Rota? Peraí. Ah, por um segundo eu pensei que era ele. Não tem ninguém chamado Rota. Ok. Trabalhando aqui, mas vamos que vamos. Nossos queridos CLTs ainda fazendo jus de ver aqui a live. Muito obrigada. Tô tentando entrar em detalhes, Santana, porque vai que alguém aqui a ver e quer jogar o Ace Attorney. Não quero estragar os plot twists do primeiro caso, do primeiro jogo. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case. I wonder. What do you think, Ryonosuke? Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court records as evidence if you think it could be useful. Sempre é útil. Eu não joguei a trilogia original completa ainda. Eu tô na metade do segundo jogo, do Ace Attorney. Como eu tô na metade do segundo jogo, eu não quis nem talvez trazer em live, porque ia ficar meio, tipo, muito em cima. Enfim. Yes! If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. By the way, não agora, mas acho que daqui uns 10 minutos vou ter que sair para comer. Vá comer. Não fique sem comer. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern. Objection. Tá pensando aqui, você devia fazer uma live em algum momento falando de Pokémon, né? Eu tô pensando em sim fazer live de Pokémon. Provavelmente jogando Black and White, mas eu não tenho certeza ainda. Qualquer jogo de Pokémon eu vou gostar de fazer live. Eu gosto muito, então. Dá pra fazer uma live de tier list, hein? Os melhores megas, melhores iniciais, trazer Discord. Smash RPS não. Não. O Pokémon é muito minha infância pra eu conseguir fazer uma coisa dessas. Que horror. Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon? Have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's almost a disturbing trend. Que horror. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. Mas vou ver isso agora. Calma lá, Kazuma. Tenho certeza que você quer uma dica. Se eu pudesse olhar com mais calma. What we need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like. But it's the day after the festival already for you. Esses jovens com seus direitos. Daqui a pouco são as mulheres que vão querer ser advogadas. Que absurdo, né, Santana? Ai. Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witness testimonies have no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Korekuta-san. Pera lá. Não consigo olhar com calma. Eu vou ficar pressionando eles em tudo. So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? The victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone? That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beef steak on the victim's table, a meal for one. No. The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they are all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea.
Yes!
Why aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, Cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed, but for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's not possible. Estão mentindo. Unfortunately for you, Defendant General Rodolfo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. Esse S me lembrou que a trilogia original ganhou uma atualização com dublagem em PTBR. Eu fui até atrás de ver do Great Saturn, mas acho que não tem. Por isso que eu nem coloquei. But if such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Excellent work, Ryonosuke. You've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it a little more in detail. How exactly? Esqueço que isso é um tutorial, eu já quero sair clicando para poder ver logo. O jogo não tem muita coisa para ser traduzida, mas é engraçado imaginar. Preciso ver como ficou depois. Ai, mas não é. Pior que eu lembro de Objection ser protesto. O yes, eu não sei. Não faço a mínima ideia, talvez um momento? Enfim. You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press space and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Okay. Okay. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. If there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. It says Rota Clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics, almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Aren't they all the same? Well, when I was 5, I caught the only cold I've ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I had to have this hideous injection on my right arm. Ugh, I'll never forget it. Never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to had only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illness like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We don't want to miss anything. Dentista. Aha! It looks like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's probably a record for long-term treatment, that's why. With a family doctor, I imagine. Well, I can't imagine. Going to a doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting one. Well, if you were dead, there'd be no point. So you don't like doctors then? Why would you? They make you drink horrible tasting medicine. They give you awful injections. And then they demand lots of money from you for their privilege. All when you're at the lowest end of the cell. You signed like a model patient. With a bad case of stubbornness, no less. For which the only cure is very bitter medicine indeed. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there is an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, we'd had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia, although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you from feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure, until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bringing up in mind. Aha! Vietnam flashback, você tá pensando nisso, Santana? Sinto muito. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. Ok, bora. Vai lá. Cadê uma parte que eles falam de comida? Ahá, não pode comer. Being prohibited from eating or drinking anything but water. Tome. Tome. Well, I think, about what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer? I wish I could, but first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryonosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under these circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raise your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you know exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Olá, Kaiser. Boa noite. Buenas noches. Good night. All right, and thanks for the advice. Isso, respira fundo. Kureko-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see. And I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up. Dear me, dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's, remember, Ryonosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witnesses' testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced Droga. Finalmente ele deu uma batida forte na mesa. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How it could possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hota Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim just had a tooth extracted? E? What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result the victim had been forbidden from eating. Just what are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat? So what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't... Kureko-san. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. Kengarau tá queimando, eu adoro essa parte. No. Additionally, there's more? You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we know now, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Ah! Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see that the plate of food at the victim's table. Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? Seu burro, seu tonto, sua anta. How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in the restaurants have turned. But wouldn't you agree, Ryonosuke? Oh, yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beefsteak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. Hazumi sua bandana viva. Ele é dramático. The person eats the steak at the victim tables must have been... Obviously, it can only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table. You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person. There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial, relentlessly. Kazuma, are you insane? You would have taken on the government? Don't worry, counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have an issue with them, the two witnesses in the stand. What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out that the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Boa janta, Santana. Complicit in murder? Não! Não! Até o bebê ficou chocado. Negative. There was no mention on this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders. Admitiu. That's right. As the man says, just say you never saw that gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Oh. What? What did you just say, Konekuta-san? Oh, no. You were just following orders? Now, hold on, lad. I was, Say you never saw the gentlewoman? When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
What is the meaning of all of this? These witnesses gave false statements. Is this true, you pair? Just one simple slip of the tongue. Barraco, quebra. Order. Counsel, explain what is going on here. It's painfully clear now. You try to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Ryonosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Aochi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. E a bandana continua. Ele tá farmando aura. O Kazuma tá farmando aura. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Pior que eu acho que o soldado aí caberia uma corte marcial. Afinal, isso virou um incidente internacional. Tá maior barraco isso aqui. Primeiro caso, vai passar o caso tutorial e tá sério assim. Of course, we need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? We examined... Meu Deus do céu. We sei lá o quê. This piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. Isso, o trequinho do garçom. There's no time to lose. It is proven that the witnesses have been manipulated. I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god, I knew nothing. And what does the defense have to say about all this? Well, Your Excellency, no time to think. I'm just going to have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes into my head. Pera. Calma. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is... Eu só consigo pensar nele. Bom, eu tenho 5 tentativas, então... Vai. Ok, faz certo. Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier? Poppycock. Que porra de palavra é essa? What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly that level of influence. Pera lá. Era Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation. Tome, a polícia que tá envolvida. Well, that's unexpected. What is it? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business card tends to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. If they're wielding, it's somehow here. Aha, pronto, tem uma evidência. Vai esfregar na cara dele. Tome. For once, I would agree with you. If that is, the man truly were a waiter. What? If he truly were? Come on, Vryonovsky. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga's real identity, as proven by this evidence.
Yes.
The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question? I agree it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency. That's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes! It's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. The waiter's profession? But that's surely good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power, absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witness here, there in the stand, was in fact the waiter who gave you the orders? Was it he who told you not to mention what you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Apareci. Inspector Hosonaga. I was worried something like that may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. Flashback time. Ah, é que ele teve o surto de tosse. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So, you mean to say, you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course, your salary... Poxa, teve que arranjar 2 empregos? A polícia tá te pagando tão mal que você teve que virar um garçom? I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes, there have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at a liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. O cara é o Julius. É o Julius dos anos 1800 e tanto do Japão. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga. But you will elaborate on the one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the 2 witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that's indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner. Therefore, I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. Ish. As soon as I heard that gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady whom I guessed to be an English woman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sailed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the bureau. It was then I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the English woman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the English woman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this English woman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interests not to pursue that idea. Mas e eu que tô sendo acusado, porra? The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect, well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the phantom woman in this case. But it's not right. Cadê essa mulher? Muitas e muitas reticências. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? UMA University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory is a young English woman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, well, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The English woman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Giselle Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of UMA University's medical faculty. What is happening here? I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. Kazuma devia deixar de perseguir direito e se ele virar investigador ou agente de inteligência militar. Ele é muito big brain. It must now be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise, namely that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point. But, Your Excellency, that would mean missing the noon deadline of ruling in order to send the telegraphic reports to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceeding of my courtroom. Ugh. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir? You will locate this Giselle... Eu não sei como é que pronuncia isso. Eu posso chamar de Jezabelle. Giselle Brett, and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, is it my guiding principle to carry out all investigation flawlessly? So it won't be a problem? Eu vou ser demitido com certeza. Nothing will get in my way. Tadinho, ele vai ser muito demitido. Alguém dá um chazinho com mel pra ele. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student Giselle Brett to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency! Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. Terminamos a primeira parte do primeiro caso. Yay! Eu acho que eu aguento terminar esse caso hoje. Vamos ver. Eu não lembro se demora ainda muito pra acabar, mas pelo menos a primeira parte tá acabada. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. That was superb. Ugh, my head was in my mouth the entire time. It was almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. Tudo isso pra introduzir as mecânicas do jogo. Sim, agora, tipo, pra gente ver, procurar mesmo, com certeza, pra gente tentar ver quem que matou. Pra mim tá meio óbvio que deve ser a mulher, mas tudo bem. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, you'd started finding consistency in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I get through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Anyway, it looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Giselle Brett, a student from Great Britain, is she? Será que ela já tá nos court records? Não, ainda não. That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are the one thing I'm sure of. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself. Then, on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table, I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor. And just after I bent down and picked it up, bang! I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over me, looking as white as a sheet, and he bundled me into some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fast thinking by the detective, he apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry, I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Wait. Professor Mikotoba. Well, it seems I was right. A pair of you make an outstanding team. You've exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so that I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. Our modern country is still in its infancy, our justice system even more so, which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference, lawyer or otherwise. If I am the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis in his life, I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What? What are you saying, Kazuma? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma. Well then, it looks like it all comes to you, young man. To me? Yes. You need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case. Don't you think of it? He said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UMA, and it was I who invited him. Oh, I see. I didn't know that before. Sem pressão, tudo normal, tudo normal, como diria Chico Bento. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. But let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentlewoman whose involvement our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. But I have no doubt that your pair will put up a good fight, right to the last. Best of luck. Thank you. Now then, I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need. Ih, evidência de última hora, quer ver? Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. Defendant Naruhodo. Court recess is over. Please make your way back inside the courtroom at once. It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go in there and deal with a decisive blow before those old fossils know what's hit them. Kazuma? What? Thank you. Really? What for? Well, if you hadn't said you believed me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now. Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer and as a friend. Que fofo. Muito fofo. Coming from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really going to give up on his dream of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then, I'll save the thank yous for after the trial. You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria at University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. Bora que bora. The court hereby resumes the trial of Ryonosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Auchi, have you managed to subpoena the witnesses? Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under rather painful scrutiny from the government. Sorry. Let the government scrutinize. That's their job. It's nothing to worry about. It's highly unlikely that the good relation we forge with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Will you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down and our nation founders? Again, terribly sorry. If the friendship between our nation is really so fragile, then the treaty isn't worthy the paper it's written on. Caralho, Kazuma. You really have nothing to worry about, Ryunosuke. What do you mean? A secretary trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses. Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is the Supreme Court of Japan or of England? Shut up, you jumped rookie boy! You and your friends know nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering is what will secure our futures. I won't deny that I'm no expert. I'm just a student, and one who could arguably study harder too. But standing here now in our Supreme Court, there is one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a poor country with no future at all. Carai, damn! Well said, Ryunosuke, despite the wide-eyed look of terror. You little brats! Thank you, Counsel. This court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system. It exists solely for the pursuance of truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume with the next witness taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett. Yes. Your Excellency! Ela veio diretamente de Bridgerton. Veio diretamente dos bailes de Bridgerton. Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentlewoman to Japan, and from such a distant land. Tea! Someone bring English tea. In English, no discussion takes place without tea. Is that true? No idea. So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court? Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I have been working undercover as the head waiter and lover. Yes, we all know about you already. Inspector Hosonaga, where are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first. Is that true? No idea. More importantly, a little earlier today you said something to me. You said your powers of observation are the one thing you're sure of. Oh yes, I think I did, didn't I? Yet your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but powers of observations aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. Guilty. So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please. Ela veio diretamente da quarta temporada de Bridgerton, o baile de máscaras. Eu tô muito ansiosa pra essa temporada, desculpa. Os caras sentando ao vivo. Sim. Ela disse em cursivo. Cursive letter. I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but what? Cursive letter, cursive letter, cursive letter. Cursive letter, cursive letter. The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. She comes from London, England. She's a visiting research student currently enrolled at UMay University's medical faculty. Oh my! What a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of the delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you said, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird song. Pera, hummingbird? Beija-flor consegue cantar? Acho que não. As far as I can tell. The detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Yes, I agree. You obviously do fine in England, Kazuma. Her English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Nor you. You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Ryonosuke. Olá, Santana. Conseguimos chamar uma mulher para depor. Uma mulher saída diretamente do baile de máscaras de Bridgerton. Oi, Soleil. Tudo bom? Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called La Carnival, a grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? Beija-flor só faz zoom, zoom. É, eu tava imaginando isso. Falando em letra cursiva. Respondendo em letra cursiva. Meu cérebro fritou na live de hoje. O que você fez, live? She says yes. This could take some time. So, even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese? She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting. When you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the bureau. Tô jogando Outer Wilds em live. Tô muito perdido agora, perto do final. Outer Wilds, acho que eu não conheço nada de Outer Wilds. Eu não sei dizer se é um jogo difícil ou não. Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photographic print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught a sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps? Apparently, it was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say? Yes, it would appear that the lady did witness the crime. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Eu não fiz isso! Eu tô imaginando ela falando que nem o Kronk falando esqueleto. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement. Well, it looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Senhorita, para fazer lives na Twitch também, te gankar quando tiver on. Eu ainda vou criar sim um canal na Twitch. Eu só quero esperar eu ter 2 monitores, que aí fica um pouco mais viável de eu ajeitar as coisas certinho. Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor, and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. Mentirosa! Mentirosa!
Yes!
A beefsteak? Eu não sei o que mais que eu posso dar pra fazer com sotaque britânico. Não sei. No! I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all. Quiet, you filthy wretch! Look at you, you black-hearted blackguard, and look at this snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine those words, whose words the court is going to believe. Claro que é na estudante, né? Na estudante rica. Ugh. You're still making the same mistakes, Ryonosuke. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. That's a lesson you need to learn. He's so annoying. Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the two witnesses who testified before and reported back at the bureau. You have a license for a murder, bruh. Mate? What? It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. Ela estava comendo com a porcaria da vítima. Como é que ela não está envolvida? Como é que ela não foi chamada antes? The testimonies of the last two witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so, the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there is nowhere about her person where she could conceal a firearm. Ela tem um ganso na cabeça. Eu tô falando, ela saiu de Bridgerton. Ela é tipo amiga da rainha, que tem aquelas perucas super elaboradas. Com certeza dava para esconder uma arma aí dentro. Exatamente. I would think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to. Oh, go on, se foda, mano. Unless and until the precise location where the witness is to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Você tem um chapéu gigantesco. Daria pra guardar uma granada aí. Those are the witnesses' own words on the matter. That's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift her up their dress, I could prove it. Não, o vestido não. Tenta primeiro o chapéu. O chapéu parece mais fácil, inclusive. Don't think about doing anything rash, Ryonosuke. But I didn't fire the gun I picked up. There must have been another gun there that day. You're right about that, which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we can prove now. Okay. And to do so, we will need her to pull her to testimony apart. Sorrisinho de desgraçada. Lá ele. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Yes, Your Excellency. Eu vou ficar pressionando, porque eu não percebi nada de errado. Preciso comer algo que tô derretido, já volto. Pegue um sorvete se você tiver aí, Solen. After 2 p.m. in fact. That's really quite late lunch, isn't it? You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late lunches are on vogue. Isn't that right? No. No. Ugh. A decisive English no was quite a sting to it. The gentlewoman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems. So it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would lunch together. Mensagem do Kaiser foi pro Éder. Eu não vi, eu acabei não vendo. But on the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first. That's right. Miss Brett and the victim went to lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why it was so late. Não tá aparecendo no chat do YouTube, oxi. Depois precisa ver se isso é um problema recorrente. Não tinha reparado nisso. Yes, that all makes perfect sense. Such wonderful logic. What a shiny example of English intelligence this fine gentlewoman is. So you both arrived at the restaurant. So what happened next? The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beef steak. He was unable to eat, you say? And that was because he had moved, blah blah. That's right. Was Miss Brett aware of that fact? It seems so, yes. She'd heard that the professor was to have some dental treatment. So that would mean that was you who ate that steak at pictured here. Is that right, Miss Brett? That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was left after the horrifying events. Exactly as it was left. Pera, foi mesmo? Calma lá. Pera aí. Foi nada, isso aí tá errado. Ele tá com a cara. Foi adulterado isso aí. Sem falar que ele tá virado pro lado de fora. Então, sei não. Tá alguma coisa errada. Meu Deus, muitas mensagens sendo mandadas pro éter. Cuidado, gente! Had traveled to a distant island on the far side of the world and be embroiled in such tragic incident. Have no fear, my dear lady. I swear I will crush the evil fiend that was subjected to you to this terrible plight. So the victim, Dr. Wilson, had nothing to eat or drink at all? That's right. Other than some carbonated water. Péssimo gosto. Água com gás é horrível. Just water? Just water? Yes. The professor was unable to eat, but had been given permission to drink water. So it appears that the diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each. What do you think, Ryonosuke, about the witness's last statement? É claro que tem significado. Por o quê? Não sei, mas nunca é sem motivo essas coisas. It's a profound bearing on the case. Well, how fascinating. Do tell us, what is this profound bearing? Sabe qual que eu acho que é a maior mentira disso aí? Deixar uma mulher viajar sozinha pra estudar. Ela veio com o Dr. Wilson. Então, tecnicamente, ela não tava sozinha. Mas, nessa época, mulher podia estudar medicina? É isso que eu tô achando esquisito. Nunca vou superar o chapéu dessa doida. Saiu de Bridgerton. 4ª temporada, porque ela está mascarada. Tô animada pra essa temporada. Não vou calar a boca. Eu tava querendo até fazer reação, talvez. Pra lá, mas não sei nem como é que isso funcionaria. Então eu tô descartando, por enquanto, essa ideia. Enfim. The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statement to be formally added to the testimony. Well sidestepped, counsel. Very well. Miss Brett, kindly repeat what you just said to be added to your official testimony. Gladly, she said. That was brilliant, Kazuma. I'm going to remember that one. Which one? The significance will become apparent when the time is right. I could really use that phrase. I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that, Ryonosuke. Pera, eu escolhi o nome da mulher, deixa eu pesquisar. Florence Nightingale, como eu fui esquecer o nome dela. Ah, Florence Nightingale, verdade, ela é britânica. Eu acho que ela é até... Mas pera, ela é dessa época? Enfim. Stay for myself and the professor and I set cheers over a glass of carbonated water. Tá. Acho que eu não tenho... Peraí. Tá. Esse aqui porque não tem outro copo. Só tem um. Será que eu posso usar isso?
Yes!
That's it! Let me just confirm something, please. It's to do with this photographic print. Just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene. That it was exactly as it was left. That's correct, the lady says. Você tem que bater com força, Ryonosuke. Bate com força. Bom, tecnicamente ela era uma enfermeira, não médica. Well, it's odd, very odd. Dear me, what's odd in this defense's inability to express itself? Ryonosuke, what is it about the print that looks odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers. The cheers? Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. You're quite right, counsel. There's only 1 glass pictured here. Mas enfermeira tem que aprender medicina, não? Nessa época, se duvidar, eu acho que se duvidar não tinha muita diferença entre os 2 casos. Pelo menos nessa época. Hoje em dia eu sei que tem diferença. Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over miniature? Sim. What possible difference does the presence or absence of glass make on the case? Por que ele tiraria? Ele tiraria um copo. Could it be that the detective here removed the glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence? Of course not. I would never do something so reckless. But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Are you going to try to tell me you can click with only one? You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses to the table. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table. Me dá então o copo. Me dá o copo. It was all so terrifying, everything that happened. I panicked and thought I should try to hide the fact that I'd been there at all, she's saying. Good gracious! Sorry. Calma, então me dá o copo. Peraí, deixa eu ver um negócio. A British exchange student who was studying under victim medical school. Só queria saber se ela era, tipo, aluna de medicina ou de enfermagem, como a gente está discutindo no chat. There, as I assured the court before, this is of no consequence at all. Oh, please. We must remember that this student had just murdered this lady's luncheon companion before her very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass or 2 in her state of disarray? That's absurd. Oh, really? So do we take it that you are now going to accuse this vulnerable young and beautiful woman of mischief? No, this can't be put down to mischief. I'd like to know. Cadê o copo, porra? Exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene. Ela enfiou debaixo do chapéu. Eu espero. Nossa, it would seem that she slipped into a small handbag that she was carrying. A handbag, you say? Yes, Your Excellency. A small handheld pouch commonly carried by well-to-do women in England. So the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. Nada suspeito ocultar evidência. Pois é, né? However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. This student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end it comes to nothing. No more pretentious accusations. You have wasted enough time already. Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Counsel for the defense, are you in agreement? Well, I don't know really. If you want to pursue this matter further, you're going to need to show that it has some deeper significance. Yes, you're right. So she took the glass away in her handbag. If there is... Eu acho o copo. If you ask me if it's the fact that she took the glass that has a deeper significance here. Why do you think that? Because it's the property of the restaurant. It's not some harmless act of pilfering, like taking a bar of soap home from the public baths, is it? You take soap from the public baths? Meu Deus, que crime! No! I mean, That isn't significant here. It is very significant. But this is the time or nor the place. Kazuma está desapontado. Está desapontadíssimo. Tá revendo a amizade dele por Yonosuke nesse exato momento. There are more important things to concentrate on now. I think maybe you should reconsider your position too. Sorry, I will. Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Council of Defense, are you in agreement? Well... ok, não é o copo então, é a bolsinha. Wait, the lady put the glass in her handbag, you say? Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlewomen carry handbags for small items. Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Opa, verdade. Eu não tinha pensado nisso. But what she forgot to mention was her handbag, in which it would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun. You're right. Well done, partner. I had a feeling you'd picked up on that one too. Não, eu não peguei. Eu não peguei, Kazuma. Eu não peguei. Eu só escolhi outra opção porque o copo não deu certo. What are you insinuating, you vile blackguard? It's really very simple. The gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor. As he didn't fire that gun, we can deduce there must have been another firearm at the scene. The true murder weapon, if you will. You can't be seriously suggesting... Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Did you or did you not search Miss Giselle Brett's handbag on the day of the murder? No, sir, I did not. As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hidden in Miss Brett's handbag. Apesar de eu concordar, eu acho que só teve barulho de um tiro. Isso que confunde... Não, pera. Ah, não. Ainda funciona. Desculpa. Funciona ainda. Desculpa. No! Order. What is the meaning of this, Inspector? The meaning of what, Prosecutor Auchi? Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at the time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, now she has to endure these uncomfortable accusations. Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask. Do you think so, Kazuma? Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly, you have no faith in the police. As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting, simply because it was unnecessary. Unnecessary in what way? I ought to thank the student lawyer, actually. Really? I have a piece of evidence here that I had completely forgotten about. Isso, me dê. This photographic print. Ah, okay. This print of a photograph that I would... Ah! Tem coisa na mão dele. This print is of a photograph that I thought would be prudent to make immediately after the shooting. As you can see, it clearly shows Miss Brett's handbag. Well, I never. You can see right through what's inside. That's right. Apparently, meshwork bags like these are the height of fashion in London at the moment. So the contents are clearly visible. Exactly. So there was no need to search the lens handbag, mas ainda tem o chapéu. Ainda tem o chapéu. There had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious. As you can see, there's nothing to imply Miss Brett's guilty here. Thank you for helping to prove that, Naruhodo-san. Ugh. Order. Inspector Hosonaga, will submit that print as evidence at once? Certainly, Your Excellency. I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness, counsel. The court has now been shown considerable evidence. As the photograph print just submitted into the court record appears to have no further significance, I am satisfied that there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Indeed, and there is only one logical conclusion, that the pathetic rookie slumped over the bench before us is only possible perpetrator of this crime. No. Just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around, I am in a worse situation than I was at the start. Até o Kazuma tá triste. Parou até de voar a faixa dele. Mas, tipo, porra, que merda. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. Now that the cross-examination of the witness is over, there is no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it? Assim, você ainda pode viajar, pelo menos. Ou tá preso? Provavelmente vai ter, tipo, uma execução. Sim. Mas você consegue viajar ainda. Vamos pensar pelo lado positivo. I must say, you put up quite a fight. Ixi. Eu recebi notificação do OBS que deu uma travada aqui. Tá ok? Vocês ainda conseguem me ouvir? Vocês conseguem me ver? Só para ter certeza, né? Antes de continuar. Ok, tá tudo certo então? Posso continuar? O OBS não tá tancando a quantidade de absurdos que está dizendo, que estão sendo ditos neste courtroom. Enfim. The weak are meat while the strong eat. You were wasting your time. There is no way to defeat true justice. A fact you can chew on that onto your heart's content from the inside of your cell. This can't be happening. Am I really going to be found guilty for a crime that I didn't commit? And Kazuma tá deprimido. His dream of going to study abroad will slip through his fingers. Mas ele não defendeu a gente. Talvez ele ainda consiga, não consegue? Kazuma? What? Is there really no chance now of turning this trial around? You heard the judge. There's nothing about the last photograph the detective produced that we can contest. Tem a mancha na mão! Tem a mancha na mão! Which means there is no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well. I will now proceed immediately to the ruling. It seems we will be able to report to the British government on time after all. That smug little Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Having considered all of the evidence placed before me, I hereby find your... Eita porra. Wait, Your Excellency. Ryunosuke? I don't think you can rule this case yet. This amateurishness is getting tedious. When His Excellency deems that the trial is over, he gives his ruling. That is the most basic protocol of the courtroom.
Yes.
Your Excellency, just a moment ago you said this. As the photographic print just submitted appears to have no further significance, there is no longer any room for doubt on this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now, that means that if there was a problem with the evidence, some significant detail I mean, when ruling on the case at its time would be out of question. This is a blatantly straw clutching. Look at this photographic print. All it shows is the handbag and the gentlewoman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence. You'd better know what you're doing, Ryunosuke. I understand your objection, counsel. Certainly, the new evidence submitted by the detective has not undergone the court's scrutiny. However, I fail to see how we can glean on any new information from this handbag. My thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of these rookie desperate whizzes. Yes, I am desperate, but this isn't a whiz. There's not something about this photograph which just doesn't seem right. If only I can put my finger on it. Eu ponho, eu aponto, eu sei onde é, eu sei que tá errado. Não sei o que isso vai significar mais pra frente, mas tem uma coisa errada. Very well, I will grant the defense one final opportunity. Bora. Ixi, a marreta vai cantar na minha cabeça se eu não fizer errado. But be warned, if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Excellency. So, take another look at this photograph print Inspector Hosonaga submitted before. Eu tenho 5 coisas. Tá tudo bem, tá de boa. Aqui. Look at this here. There's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. It almost looked like a burn of some description. Yeah! Não gostou. Dear me, I was pondering on the new piffle you would come out with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist? Clearly, that has nothing whatsoever to do with the magnificent lady's handbag. Yes, that is a burn mark. You are correct. Go on, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it on his report. What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered his burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing either. The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. However, the prosecutor, Auchi points out, unless a firm connection to the case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused for the stand now. Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold up you any longer. I'm quite sure His Excellency is about to give his final ruling anyway. What's your thinking on this, Ryunosuke? Do you believe this burn does have something to do with the case? To be honest, I'm not really sure. But if I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking I should keep digging and digging, in the hope that I might uncover something useful. Yes, you're right. I am? If we can just link that burn to the case, if we can do that, we might be able to prise the shutting door back open again. Just give up, Counsel. You can't possibly hope to do that. Indeed, I'm afraid that without evidence, I cannot allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence that irrefutably linked the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as you pointed out, what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face. Really? I have to find some link between that burn and the case. This is a moment of truth. It's the time to find some evidence that proves that what that burn really means. So then, the defense will now present its evidence to the court. What evidence? The evidence that demonstrated... Peraí. Não... Ahá! Achei! Aqui! Ele queimou a mão ali. O que isso vai ajudar a gente agora? Não sei, mas deve ajudar.
Yes.
What is this, Counsel? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore. Do hurry up, Rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further really would be quite inexcusable. Ela que aguente. Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer, if you don't mind, Miss Brett. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason is recorded here forevermore. What? How?
Objection!
You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean. What is this? What is it in this photograph that explains the reason for the victim's burn? Aqui.
Yes.
The beefsteak? Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. The plate? Ah, Ah! Your Excellency, are you alright? As you can see, there is an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of La Carnival. Ah! The emblem on the plate. And the victim's burn are exactly the same shape. Ah! Yonosuke, you're genius! You're spot on! Which means the victim must have suffered his burn while he was present at a restaurant.
Objection!
But even if that is the case, we can't know if it happened on the day in question or not. It could have been a day before or the day before that. Não. Ele não podia comer por sei lá quantos dias. Well,
Objection!
Obrigada, Kazuma. Sadly, Prosecutor Auchi, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks. Why? The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hosonaga? I can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly. But I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it's not particularly large burn, it's extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. If the plate was at around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds. It's inconceivable that a victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then. Então ele tava morto. Tava morto quando ele teve a queimadura. Já. I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I have not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of La Carnival, I can testify to that without question. But you're a detective, not a waiter! Ele tem 2 empregos!
Yes!
There you have it, something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There is no question of that. And yet Inspector Hosonaga never heard the professor scream. Not on that day or any before it. That's right. And the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think, counsel. Then the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us would, without any question, have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Professor Auchi? Well, yes, I suppose. So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? Porque não gritou. Ryonosuke, do you think? Can it really be true? I never dreamt we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think that maybe we've been led to a terrible trap. Ela tava escondendo o copo. Então tinha alguma coisa do copo que ela tava com medo que as pessoas descobrissem, eu acho. Não tem nada dessa de ela pensar que, tipo, eu queria que não parecesse fosse eu, não sei o quê. Então ela teria tirado o prato. Não só o copo. There's only one explanation I can think of to make sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn from his sister, Dr. Wilson was already deceased. Ele estava morto já. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. That's clearly impossible, apart from in one particular situation. Also, are you suggesting? Yes, it's only possible if the man was already dead. Already dead? Knowing what we know now, it's only possible explanation. Finalmente tá batendo forte com a mesa, isso? When the beef steak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead. Queima Kangaroo! Madness! Order, please. Counsel, explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot. That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student. But clearly he has no grasp of the facts. No, Prosecutor Auchi, it's you who has no grasp of the facts. I beg your pardon? As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case has turned upside down, or have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it is true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, that you will have to forget your luncheon engagement. But Your Excellency, the justice system in our country may be in its infancy. But rest assured, all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am prepared to pass judgment. Thank you, Your Excellency. What was that smile? Yes, of course. Por que eu falei sotaque? Eu falei com sotaque francês sem querer, desculpa. I mean, I'd be delighted to help, especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. Miss Brett, you speak Japanese? Well, of course I do. I am studying in our country, after all. But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now? My mother tongue, the Queen's English. The Queen's English is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentlewoman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. Escrota, hein? But it seems the man in this land possesses none of the chivalrous virtues of the English gentleman. So I can see that I shall have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your level, your own level. Well, you are the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honored by this lavish consideration you so graciously afford us. I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So, we're finally going to hear her own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Ryunosuke. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burnt his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glass in a toast. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible cause of death besides the gunshot. Engraçado que reclamam de um personagem específico, mas tem gente falando coisa muito pior com mais frequência. If there's some other way a man's life can be taken without leaving a trace, please do show me. Me mostra a porra do seu copo que deve ter veneno nessa merda. Quer ver? Você botou veneno de rato nessa porcaria. Quer ver? Só que não tem como fazer teste de sangue nessas coisas. Por isso que pode... But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway. Me passa o copo, então. Passa o copo. Me passa o copo. A porra do copo. That most captivating and beautiful testimony will go down in the Supreme Court's history. Thank you. Para de babar ovo dela. I hope that is the last time I will have to sully my lips with the coarse tones of your unbecoming tongue. Oh, forgive me. I do hope I haven't insulted anyone. No, not at all. It is a delight merely to hear you speak, dear lady. And it seems very clear from your testimony that this boorish talk of the victim's burn is utterly irrelevant. I will be speaking to your country's Minister of Justice about what happened here today. E ainda tá ameaçando. The Minister of Justice? May that irritating little bug of a student be given the harshest punishment possible. Quem diria que um jogo que passa no século XIX seria cheio de gente falando atrocidades, né? Pois é, na verdade está até tendo menos atrocidades do que eu esperava. Amen. Huh? Thanks? Was that a prayer then? Well, you have to forgive me the irritation, Miss Brett, and put up with a cross-examination now. Expect you've noticed that this little bully of a student, as you put it, doesn't miss much. Chupa que é de uva. I'm sure I don't need to remind you, counsel, that this will be your final cross-examination in this trial. Então tá acabando. Vai dar tempo de terminar, então, esse primeiro caso, antes de eu jantar e ver minha novelinha. If you fail to demonstrate... Detalhe, eu comecei passando mal. A live eu comecei meio passando mal. Mas acho que o remédio e a bolsa térmica que eu tô usando bateu e a animação do barraco aumentou e agora eu tô aguentando jogar bastante. If you fail to demonstrate any problems with this witness's testimony, I will be ruling on the case immediately. Is that clear? Yes, Your Excellency. Then you may proceed the cross-examination.
Yes!
But his hand was on the steering hot plate for at least 3 whole seconds. You can't have noticed. Do you think so? Let me ask you something. Sorry? Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, the fly on those unslightly black trousers of yours has been wide open. You can't have not noticed, can you? Huh? What? Ah! What fun. You hadn't realized. The dear lady is absolutely right. As your friend, you're embarrassed as well as yourself in a moment. Ai, que situação! Tô com vergonha. Vergonha! Why did you tell me? Dr. Wilson was a true English gentleman. He chose honorable silence over vulgar scream. Can your tiny brains imagine such a thing? Oh yes, I think my tiny brain can. Seu tonto.
Yes.
Sonso. Well, I can't. Anyway, when the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glass in a toast. Então me dá o copo. Me dá o porra do copo. Dr. Wilson was only permitted to drink water at the time, if you remember, which explains why he ordered that drink. Correct, waiter? Então ele tava mostrando a evidência dele o tempo todo. Aparentemente sim, Kaiser. Exactly as you say, sir. Although, whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak up to the table, I'm afraid I don't remember that. Damn you. I have enough English to understand that at least. For the benefit of others, it of course means bless you. I think it means exact opposite. Anyway. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report says there was a gunshot. Peraí. Single bullet fired at close range. Fatal hemorrhage accompanied with a noisy wound. Bullet did not pass through the body. Tá, não tem nada aqui, então. Yes, it's written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes. Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us. And as there were no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death, it can only have been the bullet from your gun that put an end to the innocent man's life. But it doesn't make sense. The burn must have been happened straight away when the plate was first brought to the table by the waiter. Yes, that's true. If it had cooled even slightly, it wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that. And if the victims burned his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought from the kitchen, then he must already have been dead at that point. Faz sentido. And yet the fact is that the victim was killed by the gunshot to the chest. Until you are able to show court evidence to disprove that, it is a complete waste of time. I concur. Prosecutor Auchi is right.
Yes.
Without leaving a trace? If someone is shot, or strangled, or stabbed, or thrown from a height, however a person's life is taken, there's always a telltale traces on the body. Quite right, dear lady. And our police force has thoroughly examined the body of the deceased. There can be no doubt. Isn't that right, Inspector Hosonaga? As I've said, I always aim for a flawless investigation. There would be a physical traces with all those causes of deaths, that's true. But maybe there's some other way of killing someone that doesn't leave a mark. Ela envenenou ele. Putz, ela pegou o copo. Acho incrível que em nenhum momento apresenta a suposta arma do crime como evidência. É verdade, né? If heaven forbid you doubt me, young man, you're going to have to tell everyone how exactly do you think the professor did lose his life? Otherwise, I'm afraid your argument falls rather flat, doesn't it? Oh no! Perish the thought! Calling such a sweet young lady innocence into question. On my honor, I, Taketsushi Auchi, will cut down any who dare cast any suspicions. Way of killing someone that leaves no trace. We need some evidence to back us up here. Yes, evidence. Me dá um copo!
Yes!
Inferior? What do you mean by that? In the lands of the Great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later examination. But in this country, you investigate once, and that's the end of it. Isn't that so? Quite right. The carnival is open for business as usual today, just days after the incident. Exactly, which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction... Opa! O que tá pensando? Vital evidence may be lost. It doesn't even occur to your naive detective to try to preserve the crime scene. Eu devo ter falado rápido e falado errado. Later examination. Eu acho. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can. You understand? A killer blow. The lady is as formidable as she is beautiful. Amazing. He's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Perhaps Prospector Auchi is finally starting to see some sense. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There was a moment before when something didn't seem quite right. What do you think, Ryonosuke? I think it's going terribly. No matter how much I press her, it's not turning up any new information. Yes, as I suspected. She's a tough witness. We need to find a way to break her testimony, or the cross-examination will be over. But that would mean I have to find a way. There must be some clue somewhere to help us find a chink in her armor. Kazuma. What, Ryonosuke? There is one thing I noticed. Something that's been bothering me. Bothering you? You mean about Miss Brett? Actually, no. About the person standing next to her, Inspector Hosonaga. The detective? He seemed to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. I was wondering if it might be significant. If it might present an opening, maybe. Alright, I have an idea. Try pressing her on the last statement one more time. I think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself... Lembrei de uma tirinha sobre o cara indo comprar um sábado e vendendo, perguntando se ele queria sapatos impregnated. Se referindo a deixar eles impermeáveis, e o cara horrorizado. Que horror. Alright then. I wonder what Kazuma is thinking. I'll find soon enough, I suppose. Once I press Miss Brett on her last statement again. Okay.
Yes!
Mesmo diálogo.
Wait.
Up until now, the detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. For this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the English woman has to say. This could be a golden opportunity. What do you mean? When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you'll find they often let their guard down. You're right. Look at him. He's lost his own thought. He's lost in his own thoughts. It's time to pursue the man on his train of thought. Sorry, pursue? I'll explain how to do it. Nossa, tem mais tutorial, ok. Ok. Beleza. If you ever notice a strange atmosphere among the people on the stand, take a good look around. Alright then, so first I should move the marker, blah blah blah. Okay.
Wait. Excuse me.
Excuse me? What's the meaning of this? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to shock you. He was really lost in his thoughts deeply. It looked like you were thinking something just now, Inspector. Perhaps having heard what the lady next to you had to say? If there's anything you'd like to say, please share it with the court. What is the meaning of this? It's the delightful English woman who's testifying at the moment. If you can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over immediately. Oh, is that how it works? Absolutely not. The detective is in the stand, which makes him a valid witness. Yes, not to mention the fact that he's intimately involved in the case. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett? Well, yes. If you don't mind, I would like to speak. The lady is right. Our country police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain, which is why I, Satoru Hosonaga, always strive to make every investigation I'm involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have evidence lacking on my watch. I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of the crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. Talvez pouco. A crime scene thief? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touched a nerve there. Take this, for example. Aha! Is that the bottle of carbonated water that I took to the victim's table on the day in question? Yes, it lost all fizz, having been opened 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle, I can see it. One day our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming, I guarantee it. I can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand the sentiment. The court will accept the glass bottle of water as evidence. Miss Brett, can you confirm this is indeed the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well, counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fever. Fervor. Peraí. The label is written in a foreign language that I don't recognize. Do you know what it says, Kazuma? I think it's French. This must be very expensive water. Yes, but what does it say? That's what I was asking. Then go to France and ask. Caramba, Kazuma, que coisa! Let's just say you don't know. So this carbonated water is the last thing Dr. Wilson's ever had. Looks like there is a little left in the bottle, although it's just plain water now. You know, I've been sweating so much I'm absolutely parched. I'll just have a sip of this to keep me going. No, Ryunosuke, you can't do that. For one thing, that's evidence. You can't go drinking evidence. Oh no, you're right. We don't know what that might be inside, do we? Never cease to amaze me, Ryunosuke. In more ways than one. Could there be anything in this water? Tô falando, ela meteu veneno de rato aí. What's the matter? You've gone quiet all of a sudden. I think I might have just worked something out. An interesting possibility. Mais alguma coisa pra falar aqui? Não, ok. Será que eu faço isso aqui? Ah, droga. Gastei meu negócio. Ah, eu errei, droga. Fui penalizado, droga. Acho que não tem mais o que fazer, então. New evidence, excellent work, Ryunosuke. I never even thought of pursuing another witness over the current witness's statement. It was a great idea of yours, Kazuma. Well, it was all thanks to you noticing that the detective reacted strangely to what the lady said. I never have guessed he had all that bubbling away under the surface. To be honest, you keep surprising me at every turn. Sorry? Oh, never mind. So we know that Dr. Wilson was killed at around the time the steak was brought to his table. Quer que hoje em dia o sistema de justice japonês tem os maiores índices de condenação do mundo e a polícia só vai atrás de criminosos quando tem praticamente 100% de certeza de culpa. E if we could just demonstrate how it was done. Well, I do have one idea about that, about how the professor was killed. Ele foi envenenado. Já que eu apresento aqui agora, então...
Yes!
Droga! Não! Não! Merda. Shit. Aqui?
Yes!
Agora sim. What is this? The bottle of water? Actually, there is one method of killing a man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Obviously, I'm referring to poison. Poison? On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Wilson drank from his bottle of carbonated water. Could it be that there was poison inside? Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? Order, order, order. And on that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and able to slip the poison into his drink? The only person who could possibly have done it. Josiah Brett, it was you!
Objection!
This is outrageous. To suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence. You little rookie imbecile. Have you ever considered the delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten that we have only just signed an accord of friendship with the British Empire? Have you even the vaguest inkling that your rash accusations could jeopardize the entire treaty?
Objection!
This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one's individual's guilt with respect to one crime. What? The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We are here to determine the truth. If I may, I will silence you. Porra! Shut up! It is you who would be silent. Of course. Dear lady! Where did that come from? She just snapped. I'm afraid I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my most humble apologies. I'm sorry, my lady. To what are you referring? I described your police force as inferior, but no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe. The bottle, I mean, Inspector, and whether it contained poison or not. Of course. You did? Have you forgotten that my guiding principle is already? I strive for a flawless investigation every time. I don't believe it. Naturally, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents. And what did you find, Inspector? Ela colocou no copo! Me dá o copo! I ordered tests for every toxin that's available in this country at the present time. Ou é veneno de outro lugar. Pode ser isso também. Ai, preguicinha. We could find no trace of poison of any description in the bottle of carbonated water, Your Excellency. What? Are you sure? The tests were meticulously carried out by the chief coroner himself. No! I'm very grateful to all of you, Japanese. Nossa, o tempo tá meio seco, como meu nariz começou a sangrar aqui do nada, porra. Enfim. You've successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you. But of course, dear lady, the pleasure was ours. Tá no copo, entrega o copo, this can't be right, tá no copo! Everything falls into place if he was poisoned. Thank you, counsel. I think that cross-examination was clarified everything. Ah lá, a arma, finalmente. As the prosecution have asserted the shot to the chest from this gun is the only conceivable cause of death. É a senhorita Brett envenenando, sim. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding this weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. The court wishes to apologize for the great inconvenience that this caused to you, Miss Brett. Oh no! I'm just glad that the matter is resolved. Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for the defense. Do you have any further new evidence to present to the court at this point? Não que eu saiba. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Uranosuke. I have nothing more. Tamo fudido. Tamo fudido. Well, if you excuse me now, I really must be leaving.
Hold it.
Opa! Opa! Please, wait! Isn't that... What is the meaning of this? Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistance to the Defense. Mikotoba? In my darkest hour, with nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package, wrapped in a furoshiki cloth. Ai, não dá. Ai. Porra. Ai, eu vou salvar. Eu queria muito, muito mesmo terminar o caso agora, mas se é da terceira parte, a gente vai começar a terceira. Não, não dá. Desculpa, gente, eu não vou conseguir terminar o primeiro caso hoje. Ai. Ai, eu tô com um receio gigantesco de ser muito longa essa parte. Sair por um minuto e ver uma mulher japonesa do nada foi a nossa salvadora da pátria, basicamente. Mas cortou, agora tá na parte 3. Eu já passei muito do tempo aqui. Eu preciso muito ir jantar. Eu preciso muito ir jantar. Infelizmente, essa parte vai. Essa primeira parte não vai rolar hoje, não, gente. Esse primeiro caso. Eu não lembrava que era tão longo assim. Não precisa salvar, acabei de salvar. Ai, ai. Infelizmente, não deu pra terminar esse primeiro caso agora, não. Talvez, isso é um enorme grande talvez, eu consiga terminar na sexta. Mas não é garantido ainda. Eu preciso ver ainda. Porque não tenho nada planejado. Mas às vezes surge um imprevisto e tudo mais. Então eu não vou prometer ou garantir. Eu prefiro deixar isso mais pra quando for sexta-feira mesmo. Que aí, se for só terminar o primeiro caso, talvez dê pra terminar na sexta. Mas enfim. Fiquei muito mais tempo que eu esperava, porque tá muito divertido o jogo. E espero que vocês tenham gostado. Eu já tô muito em cima da hora das minhas coisas aqui. Então eu tô indo jantar. Bom resto de noite pra vocês que estão aí. E até outra hora, gente. Tchau, tchau.